Hulk smash! I shaved my mustache. It was a decision that was deeply regretted after the damage had been done. And I'd appreciate it if you didn't talk about it. Let's move on. Thank you. So, you like Marvel? Okay, hear me out. The Avengers Marvel game. Huh? Marvel's Avenger game is not that bad. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna stand here and, say the game's perfect because, haha, fuck me, it is not. But I do believe it does get a bad rap. The game, to me at least, has disappointing aspects to it, but I want to kind of run down the good and the bad that this game has to offer. Oi oi, how's it going? Today I'm going to be talking about Marvel's Avengers, if you couldn't tell by the last 30 seconds. Where I said I was talking about Marvel's Avengers. So let's get to it.
Some dirt in your
eye. Let's get the bad out of the way first, because I feel like by now everyone knows the shitty shit this game provides. So let's start with the microtransactions. Microtransactions are by far the worst feature in pretty much any game, and Marvel's Avengers is no different. The grind-like gameplay is too much to sink your teeth into, which leads to frustration, and then if you have a weak mentality or just rich, you'll throw cash at this game to get the big green guy in a big nice suit. Speaking of nice suits, let's talk about the cosmetics. They suck. The cosmetics lack any sort of creativity, and a lot of the cosmetics look the same apart from like a different logo on Kamala's shirt or a different hair color on Black Widow. There are around 3 or 4 actual cool cosmetics for each character, but they are quite obvious, such as like the Mark II suit used in the Iron Man movies or the Winter Soldier outfit used in Captain America movies. I don't know, I didn't watch them. And it's disappointing because there are so many cool outfits that each character has had throughout time, whether that be in movies, comics, TV shows, or other games. Usually this wouldn't be a problem if A, they were old cheap or to be obtained through challenges, or B, there are only a handful of cosmetics. But this game goes neither route, having over 45 outfits per character and have to be obtained through constant grinding or giving up your hard-earned cash. A player has actually stated he ended up buying all of the marketplace skins, which costs around 3,000 actual dollars. That's fucking appalling. To improve this concept, why not provide a loot box system with like customizable colorways and items similar to Injustice 2, so it's not just insanely up to chance? You can have rarity boxes and, you can sell items. Or if you want a specific item, have an auction house or something, like in the NBA 2K games, and make the in-game currency fucking cheap, you greedy bastards. The microtransactions don't just stop there though. If you want to apply new moves or god forbid emotes that you'll definitely never use, well, strap in and pay up, bitch. What's worse is that the new moves don't do anything. They're just animations that are shown when you do a finishing blow, which provides no advantage or boost at all. I feel like I've talked enough about the bullshit microtransactions, so let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is flawed due to its repetitive nature, especially when it comes to side quests, which will give you a debriefing telling you the aim of the mission and some backstory on why you're going. But once you get there, you find bad guys, you fight bad guys, destroy lab, rinse and repeat. Not only are these side quests insanely uninventive and boring, there's little to gain from doing them, giving you a tiny bit of XP and you don't even get a cutscene or anything. Just a good job, back to Chimera to do it all again. The other thing I had a problem with when playing this game was the frame rate issues. When in indoor sections, most evident in the mission where Black Widow versus Monica Rappaccini, what the fuck, I didn't even know her name before this video, and combat in the spacecraft with Captain America. Both these sections, the frame rates dropped significantly and would slowly increase as soon as the combat sections were done, which was a little disappointing and annoying. Surprisingly, that's all the negative things I have to say about the gameplay, so let's move on. Lastly, I know this bugs some people, but the game at launch was an absolute shit show, experiencing quite a few bugs, massive, and I mean massive frame rate drops, and terrible AI. But I bought the game when all the patches came out, meaning I only had to sit through a massive fucking update file, and that's about it. Although I'm not the biggest fan, and that's putting it lightly, of these update files, but in this case, I think it was really necessary in order for the game to be somewhat decent. I believe game releases should have never become to what it's become in recent times when talking about update files, because it's lazy on the developers and or publishers' part, and it makes the game look so bad. I know that every once in a while a game should have updates, but games that have update patches mere days after release sets the game up for failure, and it alienates majority of the fans that have been anticipating the game for however long. Everyone makes up their mind the first time they play the game. Having a broken game at launch that goes through multiple patches to become a great game still has a big chance of becoming a flop. Most notable examples are No Man's Sky and Star Wars Battlefront 2. These games tried to win back all of their fans, but only had a handful of them come back. And Marvel's Avengers kind of falls into that mold, just to a lesser extent. I'll be back. Got to go get chicken fingers. Don't click away. I'm coming back. Stay on this video. Oh yeah! Now this has turned into a mukbang. Marvel's Avengers mukbang? Huh. More like Corona tequila. God's gift to Earth. Chicken fingers. Let's get on to the good stuff. Let's start with the update files. Although it was mandatory to fix all the bugs as quick as possible, I'm glad that they did add some DLC as a way of saying, sorry, we fucked up, which were all quite good. The DLC included Hawkeye, which was the weakest in my opinion, but still fun to play. Spider-Man, which was really interesting to compare the gameplay to the award-winning game. Spider-Man 3.
I'm going to die!
But the most interesting character was Black Panther, which I actually really enjoyed. Having a strong story solely focusing on T'Challa, which vastly improves the pacing and makes the story feel even more engaging because you're not focusing on multiple characters. The combat system was quite enjoyable from all three characters having different styles, with Hawkeye being more effective from further range, Black Panther having a strong close combat system, and Spider-Man having a healthy mix of both. Speaking of combat systems, the gameplay of the base game is very hit or miss with some people, but I think overall the combat is quite good. And the movement of each character is fluent and feels great. Yes, obviously some characters are more fun to play as others, but all of them are actually pretty fun, with the exception of probably Captain America. Personally, I think he was the worst to play as, having very bare bones combat and nothing really special about him. I found myself playing as Black Widow a whole lot more than the leader of the Avengers, which is a problem, because, you know, Captain America's like the guy. On the flip side, I think Iron Man, Hulk, Kamala, Thor, and even Black Widow are really fun to play as, each having a different moveset and animations that look stunning. Some people really bag on the combat because it's boring and repetitive, but I tend to disagree in the sense that it's not the combat itself that's boring, it's the lack of innovation of the combat and not incorporating different elements to give the player a break from combat. Let's compare the Avengers to Arkham City. Avengers has a blueprint of cutscene, run to objective, combat, and rinse and repeat, like I said before. And compared to Batman Arkham City, where it would be cutscene, the freedom to approach combat stealthily or go loud, maybe throw in a puzzle, navigate to the next objective, and rinse and repeat. See, just having these small choices and game tweaks give the game so much variety. And I feel like it's unfair to blame the game's repetitive nature on the combat alone when there are more factors to take into account. If I'm being honest, I think the combat fluidity is really good, it's just overused. The voice acting is amazing when not comparing it to its movie counterparts. Look, I know it's hard not to think about Robert Downey Jr. when you're thinking about Thor or Chris Evans when you're thinking about Hulk, but if you try really hard, you'll appreciate just how well this cast does with the material given. Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, and Travis Willingham did phenomenal jobs portraying their characters respectively. But when I hear Nolan North, I hear Nathan Drake and no one else. And I think Sandra Saad did a fine job, but the character of Kamala Khan is so stupid and the happy-go-lucky attitude just falls flat and is kind of annoying after a while. But I think that just came down to the writing more so than the performance. Overall, I think the voice acting really does a good job of holding the game together, and I think it's actually one of the best games from a voice acting standpoint in recent years. You can hear the remorse and the guilt when Bruce talks about A-Day, Willingham nails the cocky attitude of the God of Thunder, and Nolan North still sounds like Nathan Drake. But what's voice acting without a story to tell? I think the narrative the game tells is really well done for the most part. It shows that although the team appeared to work well as one unit in the beginning, the results of A-Day showed the Avengers' true colours, driving them all apart and showing how easy they turned on each other. Enter Kamala Khan. The inclusion of Kamala was really smooth, introducing a new hero with a rich story to tell, and making her a pivotal part of the reforming of the Avengers was a nice touch. Instead of having a villain doing a bad thing, and that bad thing conveniently brings the Avengers together, yeah, that's kind of cliche. The game plays out similarly to Marvel movies of recent time, which I'm usually not a fan of because I think they're too formulaic and have a lack of charm. But in this case, I think it works pretty well. The game does a great job of setting up the world, having the public turn on the once beloved heroes and those that were infected, treating them like freaks. You also have some new villains that aren't talked about nearly enough in the Marvel universe, that being MODOK and the AIM Corporation, which are seen to the public as saviors. And then the Avengers slowly expose AIM as a corrupt organization that have interior motives. I know it's kind of corny, but I'm a sucker for the bad guy starting as a good guy, then slowly turning into the villain, and that's what they did with George Tarleton. However, I don't like how he just starts calling himself MODOK out of nowhere. It just doesn't make much sense to me. And the inclusion of Abomination also doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I personally think he didn't need to be there, or at least have as big of a role in the story as he did. The relationship between Tony and Bruce was the most interesting to me, having them be borderline enemies and having Tony blame Bruce for the disbanding of the Avengers. Flashback to the scene where Bruce says the Avengers are a danger to the public after the events of A-Day. I just think it was a real interesting dynamic, and to have them come together as usual, but kind of reluctantly to begin with, was very movie-like, very Marvel Cinematic Universe-like. Throughout the early parts of the story, you get to play as Kamala and Bruce as they try to find the team. The story does a good job of building the backstory of the characters that haven't been introduced yet, well, apart from the intro. With Black Widow being a mole infiltrating AIM, showing she never stopped being a hero, and Thor just trying to be an everyday Joe, shown through his casual clothing accompanied by an employee name tag. If you paid attention to what I was saying, I said that the story did a good job with introducing the characters and not the game, because from a gameplay perspective, it wasn't that good. When introducing a character, they will start at level 0, meaning you'll have to grind the side missions to level up the new characters. And it really kills the momentum if you want to just go through the story as your favorite characters. For example, when I finally got to play as Captain America, I found myself grinding the side missions to be even half the level that Kamala was, which led to me really getting sick of the character really fast, and he wasn't even that fun to play with from the beginning. On the whole, this game is one big meh. There are a lot of elements that really do the game justice, but it's overshadowed by its flaws. As I'm finishing up with this script, I have a game theory, and that is that my PS4 has been having software issues ever since I installed this game. I've had to hard reset my PS4 twice now, and I'm starting to think that the Avengers might have a part in these console mishaps. And the reason I think that is because I don't think I've ever had to hard reset my PS4 before I installed the Avengers. I think my console just can't handle the game, and would further explain the performance issues that I ran into playing the game, but hey, that's just a theory. Okay, I'll stop it now. But yeah, that's all I think I have to say. I believe that this game is below average, to be honest, and deserves most of its critiques, but I don't think it deserves the amount of hate that people have for it. And that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. I had a comment on the last video, I think it was hatred. And it was very fucking depressing, my guy. Holy shit. I think this guy needs to play Tak and the Power of Juju more than he should be playing hatred. Like, bro, that's a fucked up comment. In all honesty, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. The Avengers helps me cope with the pain. And I'll see you guys in the next one. If you feel compelled, ring that fucking bell. Alright guys, latest.